On a windswept hill in southern England, two armies faced each other for control of an island kingdom. It was October 14, 1066. William, Duke of Normandy, and Harold Godwinson, the newly crowned King of England, were about to collide in a clash that would forever alter the course of English history. This was the Battle of Hastings, a moment that didn't just decide a king, but sealed the fate of an entire nation. The roots of the Battle of Hastings lay in a succession crisis following the death of King Edward the Confessor in January 1066. Edward had no heirs, leaving the throne of England vulnerable to claimants. There were three primary contenders: Harold Godwinson, the most powerful noble in England, who had been crowned king; William, Duke of Normandy, who claimed Edward had promised him the throne; and Harold Hardrada, King of Norway, who believed he had rights to the English crown through an ancient Viking agreement. Harold Godwinson's ascension to the throne was swift, but it was also fraught with danger. Both William of Normandy and Harold Hardrada contested his claim. Harold had managed to defeat Hardrada at the Battle of Stamford Bridge just weeks before Hastings, but in doing so, he was weakened, and William saw his chance to strike. William's claim to the throne was based on his familial ties to Edward and a supposed oath Harold had made to support William's claim, an oath that William believed Harold had broken when he took the crown for himself. William gathered a formidable invasion force, and by late September 1066, his fleet landed on the southern coast of England. Harold marched his exhausted troops south to meet the invaders, unaware that this confrontation would shape the future of England for centuries to come. On the English side stood Harold Godwinson, a man known for his military prowess and leadership skills. Born into one of the most powerful families in England, Harold had earned respect through his campaigns in Wales and his defence of the realm. Yet, despite his experience, Harold's forces were weakened from their recent victory at Stamford Bridge, and many of his most experienced troops had been left behind in the north. On the opposing side was William, Duke of Normandy, a shrewd and ruthless leader. William, known as William the Bastard due to his illegitimate birth, had spent his life consolidating power in Normandy, earning a reputation as a brilliant military commander and a man who could outmaneuver his rivals. William's forces were a mix of Norman knights, infantry, and archers, trained in the tactics of European warfare and eager to claim the spoils of conquest. The day dawned cold and foggy as the armies gathered at Senlac Hill, near the town of Hastings. Harold's forces, consisting primarily of the Housecarls, his elite warriors, and the Third, a militia of local soldiers, took a defensive position at the top of the hill. They formed a shield wall, a tightly packed formation designed to withstand cavalry charges. Their main advantage was the high ground, and their shields would protect them from the Norman archers. Meanwhile, William's army, organized into three divisions, Normans, Bretons, and French mercenaries, positioned themselves at the base of the hill. The Norman cavalry was William's most fearsome weapon, a group of heavily armored knights on horseback, ready to charge into the English ranks. Picture it, Harold at the top of the hill, his men ready, their shields interlocked. Down below, William surveys the English lines, his mind racing with strategies. His heart pounds. This is his moment. Across that battlefield is the English crown, and only blood and steel will determine who wears it. The battle began with a barrage of arrows from William's archers, but the English shield wall held firm. The Norman infantry then advanced up the hill, clashing with the English front lines, but they too struggled to break through the shields. The first few hours were a brutal deadlock, with neither side giving ground. It was during the chaos of this initial phase that William's tactical genius began to show. Seeing that the English were holding fast, William ordered his troops to feign retreat a tactic that played on the emotions of the English forces. As the Normans pretended to flee, sections of Harold's army broke ranks to pursue them, eager for what seemed like an easy victory. This was a fatal mistake. The English who pursued were isolated and quickly surrounded by the Norman cavalry, who then cut them down. With this maneuver, the once impregnable shield wall began to weaken. William seized the opportunity to push his cavalry up the hill once again. Harold knew the danger as his men chased the fleeing Normans. He shouted for them to hold the line, but it was too late. The shield wall was breaking, and the tide of battle was turning. In the chaos that followed, Harold Godwinson was struck down, legend has it, by an arrow to the eye. With their king dead, the English forces began to collapse. The once unshakable shield wall disintegrated, and the Normans pressed their advantage. By the end of the day, the battlefield was littered with the bodies of English soldiers, and William stood victorious. The Battle of Hastings wasn't just the defeat of Harold, it was the death of Anglo-Saxon England. William would go on to be crowned William the Conqueror, establishing Norman rule over England. The landscape of the nation changed dramatically, with Norman customs, laws, and architecture shaping the future of the realm. For the English people, Hastings marked the beginning of centuries of Norman influence, while for William, it was the crowning achievement of his life. The impact of this battle still resonates in English history, with its echoes felt in the language, culture, and governance that emerged from Norman rule. For those interested in learning more about this pivotal moment, I highly recommend the following books: The Battle of Hastings by M.K. Lawson, 1066, The Year of Conquest by David Howarth, The Norman Conquest by Mark Morris. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most important battles in history. The Battle of Hastings changed the course of England forever, and we hope you enjoyed learning about it as much as we enjoyed telling the story. If you'd like to see more content like this, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Your support helps us bring more epic tales of history to life.